Hey, it's Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. Today we're going to use our 14-inch pancake wreath frame to make a bow wreath. So it's going to be just bows. The pancake wreath frame does come with the 14-inch frame, the 10-inch frame, and the sign extender. Today we're going to be using the just the 14-inch. So I'm going to set that aside for you. We're going to be using 6 pieces. So 6 pieces of mesh, 6 bows, and we're going to put it all together to just make a bow wreath. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a bow. It's the first thing we're going to do. Sorry. So we're going to use our 2.5 inch. So I already made all the bows. We have to make 2 together. So I already made all the bows. We're going to follow the same recipe as the others, and I'm going to make the sizes the same. So there are actually 2 different bows. Now I don't know if you can tell the difference, but the difference between this bow and this bow is the position of the yellow. So just a little tiny bit different, bringing that layer of lemons up to the closer to the top versus third one down, it's second one down. So I have all the bows made we need. We just need 2 more, but they are different. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we need 1 more. Sorry. Yep. No, we need 2 more. Sorry. I made 1 extra that I didn't need. Sorry. Okay, so 7 inches on the loop, or on the tail, 6 inches on the loop. We want them to definitely be the same. So I'm going to pinch, twist, and loop. And then grab it again, pinch, twist, and loop. Pinch, and last one, twist. So we're going to make 1 on the Easy Bow Maker, and we're going to make 1 by hand at the end. So we need 2 of this exact bow that we're making. We're going to make 1 right now and 1 at the end. So just to let you know, this is how I spread my bows to get them kind of in place and positioned to spread out, fluff, whatever words you want to use. I'm going to make my next one. Tails are going to be about the same. So then what you want to know is the bottom layer. So if you're listening or watching a creator and they're making bows, the most important thing you want to know is how big the bottom layer is. Now, your wreath, your completed, finished product might look completely different than what they are making. So you want to know why they're using this size. Okay, I'm using this size because that's what size I'm going to put on the actual on the wreath itself, and it's only going to be bows. Bows are usually based on the size you have left on your wreath or started with. You're starting with a certain size bow to set the tone. So you want to know why the sizes that they are, but the most important part when you're making a bow is the bottom layer. So this is a 7-inch, this is a 6-inch, and everything gets smaller when it goes to the top. So not necessarily are there sizes, but I'm just kind of eyeballing and making sure these are at least 1/4 inch. Sometimes it's a 1/2 inch, but at least 1/4 inch smaller than the previous layers. And then I always want to make sure that my tail is a little longer than my loops. Okay, and that's just to let the tails stand out a little bit, and so that's why I make mine a little bit longer. Now this bow has a very distinct recipe: 2 loops on one side, 1 loop on the other, and 2 tails. Every time I put a layer into this bow, I'm going to go opposite with the 2 loops. That's the key. Where are the 2 loops? Here, then here. Okay, because the last layer of this bow is just a little bit slightly different, and it's going to come down to where are the 2 loops. So the next layer of this one is a yellow. We're going to go with a solid yellow. Again, making my tail. My loop gets a little bit smaller than the last one. I'm going to pinch, twist, and loop. Now with the solid colors, it's not as important to be twisting because it does look very similar on both sides. However, it's a habit, so I'm going to stick with that habit. And some solid colors do in fact look a little bit different. And so just being in that habit and knowing that I have to just twist at the center is just a habit that I like to stay in. So here are my 2 loops. So I'm going to put my 2 loops on the opposite side. And you see now I'm just going, so I've started a pattern now. Blue, pattern, blue, pattern, blue. Now I'm going to take the second layer, which is that blue, and I'm going to pattern it with my yellow. So I'm going to go blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow. Okay, so now when I create my bow, they're not going to end up exactly on top of each other just because I put the 2 loops here and that first layer was 2 loops. You see I didn't put it exactly on top. I just altered it just a little bit, kind of just offset just a little bit, but I am going to keep going with that every other. So the next layer I'm going to put on is going to go, you see real clearly where it's going to go. It's going to go in between the yellows, okay? So I'm going to use that as my next guide. And also I want to point out right now that I started with a 2.5 inch. I went with a 1.5 inch, then another 1.5 inch, and now I'm bringing in a 2.5 inch. So I didn't want this pattern, this layer, to end up toward the bottom where it's so covered up by the top layers, and not covered up completely, but it does get covered when you add layers on. I didn't want it to end up so covered up that you really couldn't see the lemons. Okay, that's what happened here when I started the first 3. So it went the blue pattern, the blue, and then the lemons. Here I just swapped. So I put the yellow first, and then we're going to put the lemon. So what I'm trying to say is it's okay if you want to add the 2.5 inch closer to the top on top of the 1.5 inch. That's fine. You're still just going to make sure those layers are a little bit smaller so you can see the previous layers. Okay? And everything gets 3 loops total. And we're going to pay attention to where those 2 loops end up. Perfect. Now this ribbon is a little stiffer, it's a little thicker, so I'm going to make sure I pull that apart. And it's doing what I want it to do. Perfect little loops there. Pinch. Nice crisp twist there. Making sure that the top of that ribbon comes directly the way I want it to. Now this is going to try to curl there. It's fine. You're going to really make sure in the end that they are where you want them to be before it's all, real super tight. And then if it does kind of curl under, when it's all together, you're just going to make sure you put your fingers in there and grab it and make sure it's flat and pretty on the top. Okay? Because the whole point is we want the pretty side up, not the not pretty side. There's 2 very distinct sides to these ribbons. Now, again, not on the solids because it's the solid color. But when you have patterns like this, you really want to make sure that that pretty side is on the top, and that's why we do the twisting. So my 2 loops are over here. My 2 loops are going to end up over here. Keeping that center nice and tight. Slide it right down in. Y'all, if you haven't followed us yet, please make sure you're doing so. On all of our social media platforms, we do recordings on YouTube. We go live on Facebook where we're answering questions while we're live and creating different things. You can find all of our details in the description of this video, or you can go to learnfrommelissa.com and it'll give you a list of things, including our favorite suppliers, a list of our favorite tools, free resources, our phone number, all sorts of things. So learnfrommelissa.com is where you can find that sort of information. There we go. Okay, and we have one more layer. It's going to come on the top. You see this This one's just not wanting to do what I want it to do. It's not wanting to stay in place. That's fine. It will once we have everything kind of together and there isn't so much of a gap here that's allowing it to move. Once we have it in our pipe cleaner nice and tight, it'll stay put. So again, we do have 2 of these bows to make. We're going to make one right now with the Easy Bow Maker. We're going to make one at the end, just by hand. So again, this one has 1 loop on the top. It's about 3 inches. This 1 loop on the top is about 3 inches. It's just going to be the thing that hides my pipe cleaner, and it hides what we have going on, our mechanics to hold the bow together. Just is there to hide. That's all. Okay, but I'm still going to go right into those 3 loops. So this isn't going to count as one of my loops. And if you know me, follow me, have listened to me at all, you know that I love plaid. I love plaid. I love plaid. If I could add plaid to every single design, I personally would. Now again, remember I pointed out at the beginning, it matters where the 2 loops are. Okay, so 2 loops are here. My 2 loops are going to go on the other side because look, because we added that 1 little loop, which is about 3 inches, it made our loop count even on both sides, and it put a tail on both sides. So I'm not worried about the tails. That's why I pointed out specifically the loops. So I'm looking for the 2 loops. 2 loops are over here, putting the 2 loops over there. Okay. Put one there, put one here, and one there, and one there. Perfect. Okay. So from here, I'm just going to real carefully lift this off here. I have my pipe cleaner. I'm going to real carefully lift it off there. So as I lift off, I'm going to kind of push down and lift kind of all at the same time. So I'm going to push down so it stays all together and lift up so it stays together. Push down to smush it together, lift up so it stays together. And now I have my hand underneath and on the top. I'm just going to squish it nice and tight and pull up. So I have pretty bad carpal tunnel, and I use that Easy Bow Maker really as a crutch, if you want me to be honest, so that I can make the layers in my hand because I do enjoy that part, but I can't keep them in my hand the whole entire time. So if you don't have an Easy Bow Maker, I'm going to show you how I make bows without it at the end, because we do have one more to make. Okay, now you see it. Now you don't kind of thing. And then I'm just going to enhance that, that spreading this, would I do it? I also forget my words a lot. Spread out, fluff my bow, sorry. Sometimes I forget words. I'm just going to make sure I'm doing that one last time really good at the end. Okay, so now we're going to do the construction of our bow, of our wreath, and I'm going to put those aside. This goes over here. There we go. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need one more, 6. Okay, so our pancake frame has specific spots for your pipe cleaners. Typically, I use all of them. So there are 6. So you see the notches on the outside, and it coordinates with a hole. So there's 6 on the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there are 6 on the inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right now, we're going to use the outside, but specifically, we're going to make sure that our twist, our pipe cleaner twist, is actually right on the actual hole. So typically I say, usually if you're watching me do a pancake wreath, I'm telling you specifically that I want you to be twisting it towards the notch. For this specific design, I want your twist to be right on the hole. So it goes right through the center of this, okay? And therefore, the bow and the piece of mesh is going to balance right on that center. So it has a foundation to sit on. Okay, now you know my reasoning. So I'm just going to take my pipe cleaner and add it right through that center And then I'm just going to make sure my actual twist is right on the hole, okay? Different from what I do for the pancake wreath, okay? So I'm not going to confuse you. Just for this design, I want you to make sure that your twist is right on that hole. So then when the piece of mesh goes in there, it has a foundation to sit on that this is the center of this is the center point. So a piece of that mesh will kind of balance and be real nice. And then also, while I have this here, because it's not going to matter where my hanger goes, I'm just going to add my hanger while it's here so I don't have to turn it over and crush it. Because once I have my bows on, I don't want to have to fluff them. So I'm just going to say, we're going to do it like this. So this will be my top. Okay. So I'm just going to add my little hanger here. Twist, 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 twist. Make sure it's all twisty. And I'm going to make sure that, because it's pointy and yucky, I'm just going to make sure that ends up where it'll be underneath. Pull it nice and tight. I'm using that notch as a spot holder, kind of, so it doesn't shift. And then no matter what, our wreath is gonna, there's no sign gonna be on this. There's no top, there's no bottom. So now by adding this, I know that's the top. My customer's gonna know where to hang it. It's gonna be nice and easy. Boom. Okay. No big deal. Okay. So now I'm gonna take our mesh. So I pre-cut this ahead of time. I actually just used a little of what I had left off of a roll, trying to get rid of some rolls, and then I thought I was going to use enough, and then I still had some left over. So I just used leftover. We only need 6 pieces. The only reason for this piece is just to be a support for our bows. Just to be a support for the bows. That's it. So I'm going to make sure this is just 20 inches. It doesn't have to be long. I do want it to be 20 inches, so it does have a good, once a 20-inch piece is in there, it can sit alone by itself and it's okay. There's enough for it overlapping to kind of give it a little foundation there. So 20 inches, you can go bigger if you really want, although I don't feel like you need it, but you could. But less than 20 might not feel like enough for it to do what you want it to do and stay in place all by itself without anything else on it. So 20 inches is what I went for. It's also what I use for the pancake wreath, so it's what I'm used to. And I'm just going to ruffle right up the center here. Ruffle right up that center all the way. Pinch it nice and tight. I'm going to put it right on top there, right on top. So now you see that that piece of mesh is sitting. It has a good foundation. It's nice and tight. Now, all of my bows actually have a pipe cleaner on them, so I don't need this anymore. I'm just going to take it off there. I'm not adding ribbons. I'm not adding anything else. I'm going to do that 20-inch ruffle, give it a little foundation there. Done. Do the same thing to the next one. Ruffle right up the center. Now, just the position of where we put that twist, with that pipe cleaner, the twist. So I didn't have to worry or measure where the pipe cleaner was going to go, but where the twist is making these 2 pieces, which normally sit on the outside and they barely touch, it's making these 2 pieces definitely overlap. So not that your customer is going to see the base, not that we have to worry about covering up the base because those bows are going to do all that work for us, but this also just has another layer of covering, of overlapping here. So it's nice little add. Again, you're not going to see it per se. You might see a little bit, but it's not going to be part of your design. It's just going to be support for your bows. Okay, right down on top here. crisscross nice and tight, twist, 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 twist. And you could actually leave that if you really wanted to. I'm just going to get that right out of the way. We don't need it. And so I'm just going to get it right out of the way. Both for all this, everything. Just no reason to have it there. So what I'm going to end up doing is taking that pipe cleaner from the bow and just wiggling it right through and wrapping it right around there. Going through one layer of the mesh shouldn't be as stressful as it usually is when I'm going through 2 layers of mesh and the ribbons and all that stuff when we're doing the pancake wreath. Y'all, if you've gotten this far, I hope that you are following us and added yourself to all of our things. Our email list is where we're going to really make sure people are connected and learning all the stuff that we have to put out, making sure they have links to our videos and all that stuff. So if you go to learnfrommelissa.com, you can add in your email address there. It'll bring you to the next page that you can click on. And learnfrommelissa.com is just a central location that will give you a list of so many things. It'll give you our phone number. It'll give you links to some free resources and tutorials. It'll give you a list of our favorite suppliers, a list of our favorite tools, a list of all of our social media so you can make sure you're following us on your favorite place. I'm proud of that little thing. It took me a minute to get it going, but it's nice and easy, very clean to follow, just lots of great information there. So if you're looking for blogs or our website, our phone number, like I said, some free videos. There's links to help get you into our creative coaching group or learn more about it if you're looking for that. Also, at the very moment when I'm creating this video, which is in February of 2024, we do have a workshop going on. So there's a link there for the most current workshop for all the creative coaches. We're going to get together. I'm super excited about that. All right, so I forgot, just used to not having that taken off. I'm going to take this off. Now, looks weird because there's only one layer, right? It's nice and bright yellow, which I normally don't do, right? You can still see the frame, clear as day. You can see the frame, which is what I always tell you you shouldn't do. You shouldn't be able to see. But because we're working with just bows, I'm not worried about it. Our bows are going to cover up. This is going to be so, so pretty. So what I'm going to do is, we just made our bows. We have our pipe cleaners here. I'm going to take our pipe cleaners and slide them right through there, twist it and tie it off just like I did here. Okay? So I'm going to take our bows, nice and easy, go right over where that was. So I want the center of my bow to be right on the center where that pipe cleaner was. Okay. Nice and tight, right on top. And I'm just going to twist it kind of on the inside so that I can stick this part that was extra, so I can stick it on the inside. So you see here, I kind of pulled it in, twisted it to the inside. And then what I'm going to do, I'm not even going to worry about picking up my wire cutter and cutting it out and cutting off that excess. I'm just going to hide it underneath there and kind of pinch it so it stays closed. Okay, clean, nice and clean. One bow in. Now we are going to make sure that we're going one and then the other for a specific reason. Remember the second layer, you see how those look just slightly different? Okay, we were going to try it when I was making bows. I made some of these live on Facebook, and so I said we're going to try to see what they look like when we do alternative, so that one bow has the yellow in a different position. So I'm just making sure that they're going right in that same exact spot again. So they're nice and close. Those bows are nice and close, right? Now you cannot see the frame. You can barely see the mesh. Okay, and then at the end we'll go through and make those all pretty. So then I need one more here. Again, making sure my pipe cleaner is going through the mesh so that the exact center of my bow is going right where those pipe cleaners are that we use to hold in the mesh. Okay, they're going exactly right there. And I'm still tying it, every single one, on the inside so that I can get this snuggled right underneath there. Now, I do want to make sure that that whole thing is getting underneath there, because if your customer grabs that frame, right, and they grab that pokey part of the what is it called? Pipe cleaner? Ooh, they're not going to be happy. They're going to be like, what is poking me? Right? Okay, going right again. Kind of moving up again. I'm putting the pipe cleaners are going to go right around here. Right? One on this side, one on this side. Pull it underneath nice and tight. I say to my kids, like I'll say to them, instead of saying it's perfect, I'll say it's perfection. And the other day, my son, I said something and I said perfect, and he looked right at me dead in the eyes and he just kind of shook his head and he goes, perfection, Mom. I was like, yes, son, you're right. Perfection. So this is just a real simple, a nice, good, sturdy foundation with our frame. Real simple, exact spots planned out, exactly where your pipe cleaners need to go. Now, remember, we had two different bows here. One with the yellow as number in our 2 position, and one with the yellow in our number 3 position. So I started with the yellow in the number 3 position. So then I did every other. So I was bringing those lemons to the top. So I'm going to take this one because this lemon is in the lemon is in the number 3 position. I'm going to put it over here, and then we have one more handmade bow that we're going to make and put it over there. Okay, so just going to get these out of the way, kind of move that up again. And when I first did this wreath, I started with 5 because I was thinking, odd numbers, right? Odd numbers, and it'll look better with an odd number. No. I made it, I don't know if I actually kept it or if I took it apart, but then we totally added the 6th bow and it ended up being so much better. So I'm not going to discriminate on where you put your ties. So usually I've been putting them on the inside. This one ended up being better on the outside. There was just more pipe cleaner that way. It doesn't matter which way you put it. You're still going to make sure you're really hiding it underneath there. Again, perfect amount of space, amount of everything you see we got going on. We'll do all the fluffing here in just a second. So we're going to add one more. Oops, we're not going to use this. Remember, we're not going to use that. We're just going to do it by hand. So, and by hand, I don't mean hold it all in my hand, because I'll be honest, even if I tried, my hands, they don't work that way. My hands aren't going to let me do that. So what I do, or what I did in the beginning for a very long time, before I even decided to try to use the Easy Bow Maker as a helper, I just use my pipe cleaner. Okay, so just a little different. I'm just going to keep making my layers. I'm going to use my mat to make my sizes, 7 inches and 6 inches, 7 inches on the tail, 6 inches exactly on the loop, and I'm just going to add this in. Pinch, okay, pull them apart, twist, loop. So you see, this part is the same. Pinch, twist, loop. I love making the layers in my hand. It doesn't bother me. I enjoy it. I like making the structure of the bow in my hand. However, at about now, my hand's like, oh no you don't. Put it down because I'm upset with you. So I'm going to take my pipe cleaner this time and just nice and tight wrap it around there. What this is doing is, one, it's acting as my hands and holding it in place. Number two, equally as important, it's kind of cinching that ribbon and making it real nice and tight, and it's kind of making it form a shape, right? So when I take this off and add the next layer on, it's going to already kind of have its shape to stay in, right? I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to go same, about 7 inches. Now, again, I told you everything gets a little smaller from here, right? Everything gets a little bit smaller. But I always like to just do our tails a little bit longer, just in case, just in case. Sometimes I can always cut the tails. I can't make the loops longer. So I know I need the loops to be a little bit smaller, and I know I can cut the tails according to where they actually position or where they end up, or, a various of different things. So pinch to twist loop on each of those. Now, again, same thing. The 2 loops are on one side. I'm just going to keep crisscrossing where the 2 loops go, right? So I'm going to take that off there. It kind of mostly stays in place. I'm just going to take it back off, add it to the top. Because again, about that second, my hands are like, you better watch out. I'm not playing with you. Okay, now I'm going to go a little bit shorter, start my little bit shorter. And again, because I know what the sizes were here, I know I don't have to pick up my bow every single time and measure. I know I don't have to do that. I know what I started with. I know I get a little bit shorter every time I put a layer in. I know where I should be with this layer. Now, that comes with lots of practice. I've made this bow a countless amount of times. Here are the 2 loops. I'm going to switch it because I need the 2 loops to go opposite. Going here. I'm noticing in the back here, this is not twisted. So I'm just going to lift this up and make sure that my pipe cleaner grabs the twist. Twist that so it stays doing what I really want it to do, which is stay twisted. Okay. Now this lemon ribbon is a little more stiff than the others. It's of course it's 2.5 inch, so it's a little everything different. So I need to make sure when I add this in, see, that was where my pinch was, but without actually picking it up to see, I can be confident that it's going to be a little bit smaller. But with a stiff ribbon and it being 2.5 inch, it's a little wider, so it can be a little stinker to work with. You just gotta really be confident in your twists, be confident in your pinches, pleats, gathering, whatever you want to call it. It really has a lot to do with those twists. Now, even about now, since I am doing a little bit extra and I've made so many bows kind of in a row, my hands are already like, you gotta change things up. Nice and tight. Okay, 2 loops, switch it. 2 loops are going on the other side. Undo our pipe cleaner, add it in. So what I used to do when I very first started, I'd actually make these in layers. So my bow, what I'd call my big bow, would have 6 ribbons. So I'd make 3 layers and then completely tie it off. make the other 3 layers completely tied off and marry those 2 together. I know that's crazy, because I know it is, but that is just how I used to do it. And then this one has that little layer, little loop on the top. It's about 3 inches. Let's see. Oops, that's about a lot more, 3 inches, 3.5 inches. Well, actually, I think those other ones are a little bit bigger, so we're going to make it stay that way. And then a pinch. Then still need the 3 loops. Now, I just noticed that my hands got a lot looser because they are giving me troubles. But that's just fine. Making my hands looser isn't going to, you know, deconstruct my bow or the process that I do. I just need 1 second. Woo-wee! Okay, I'm going to take those. Again, the 2 loops are over there. The 2 loops are down here. I'm going to put it right on the top. One last time. Now, for me, putting the layers in the Easy Bow Maker, number 1, easier. Number 2, less time. At first, I tried to power through this whole hand thing, and then when it started to really get bad, I knew I had to make some changes. So, you know, it doesn't mean I can't make a bow. It just means I had to figure out a different way to do so without, you know, crying. So I'm just going through and making our ends a little bit more polished. And I'm just cutting on the ends. So I'm folding, cutting on the fold up towards the edge to give us a nice, clean little kind of V look. Call it a dovetail. So nice and fresh looking, nice and bright with our yellows and our blues, bright blue. One more time, we're going to fluff that wreath or fluff that bow. Kind of pull that up, and I put my hands in the top and through the center and hold on to it. And then just start with my bottom layer. Just by habit, I start with the bottom layer and the part that's the tails first. And then exactly like we fluffed the other bow at the beginning, I'm just going left and right, kind of keeping a pattern, making sure I can see all those ribbons. Again, here's our lemon wreath, our lemon ribbon that's a little more stiff than the others, giving me troubles, but I'm just going to make sure I put it where I want it. Remind it who's boss. Gently, quietly, softly, sweetly. Okay, side to side, bringing those blues out. I love that nice bright blue down there in the bottom. It's not so in your face towards the top, and it does a lot of talking through the whole bow. So I'm not concerned that it was pushed down towards the bottom because I knew it did a lot of talking. It's because it's so bright. So that one I can cut a little bit shorter. But you see it'd be a little bit harder to make it longer. There we go. Perfect. And I'm just going to take that last one, snuggle it right in. I'm trying not to go like right on top. That's not the look I'm going for. I'm looking for all the loops to be right on the top. And I personally, again, I love plaid, so I'm okay with that plaid being right on the top. If you had, your favorite ribbon or whatever that you wanted to see on the top, then you're going to push that to the top more. As far as, I know this is supposed to be like a lemon bow wreath, but as far as bringing the lemons to the top, in my own personal opinion, I feel like the lemons are very busy, and this kind of quiets it just enough. I know that doesn't look... the plaid on the top quiets it just enough. I can still definitely see those ribbons. It's not, you know, they're not, I can see all of them. I can see every single one. They're not muted. But I just wanted it a little softer, a little quieter on the top. And it could be because I'm, you know, biased with the plaid. Oh, okay. So now we get to spend just a little bit of time fluffing these, putting them, you know, all the ways. Just right now it looks a little kind of just crazy. So we're going to make sure I can see all of them. Everything's kind of just flowing out here. Nothing looks too crazy. I want it to look like a bunch of bows, but I don't want it to look like, you know, it's all, you know, crazy crunched. Now, it doesn't matter which way is my top, because remember, I don't have a sign that I'm worried about, hiding, not hiding. I don't have, you know, I don't have that sort of thing that I have to look out for. So I'm okay with not even paying attention to where, remember we added that hanger, but I'm okay with not paying attention to where that hanger is, because I know, right, that I have plenty of things to be, you know, I don't have to keep to a top or a bottom. I'm sorry. That was a long way to say this. I don't have to keep to a top or a bottom. I love this. And I also, if you follow me, kind of know that I like the like burlap color as far as mesh goes. If I've, you know, been on record before saying if I could have the burlap color mesh for every single thing, I would. In this particular case, I am glad that we took the yellow, you know, nice and bright. This one's just a little bit too long. I think I cut that one a little too long. I'm just going to slice it off here. There we go. I don't want anything sticking out past our sight line. So I'm okay with them sticking out and being all over. But if I get it behind the camera and one just looks like, whoop, it's out there, I'll for sure kind of go in and make sure it snips off. Like this one looks a little bit too long. And it could be the position of the bow. It could be anything. But, you know, I don't want anything to be... I love it so much. So bright. I'm not even going to touch the center. It looks perfect. Or maybe I will a little bit. It's beautiful. I love it. Let's see where the top is, where the top ended up. Oh, it's right here. All right, let's zoom you out so you can see the whole thing. It's beautiful. Go nice and slow so you can see the top. Or you can see this here. So cute. Beautiful. So pretty. So full. Nice and balanced. I do like that we swapped the position of the, let me zoom you out, that we swapped the position of the, sorry, don't mind my mess here, that we swapped the position of the lemons. So we went from plaid, yellow lemon, I lied, plaid, lemon, yellow, to plaid, yellow, lemon. So we just reversed the number 2 and number 3 spot. We just reversed them. And then we went from the lemons being number 2 here, and then the lemons number 2 here, the lemons number 2 here. So it just gives a slight variation through. It looks so good. Y'all, I hope that you enjoyed. Don't forget to be following us. I promised my Facebook Live folks that I was going to also make a bow like this, but by hand, because I did it on the Easy Bow Maker with them. And so I promised them that in this video I would do the one by hand. So if you don't mind, it's going to be just like the one that we just did, just longer in the tail. So if you don't mind, we're going to make that right now. I do need a wire, but it's the only thing I need. So we're going to start with 15 inch 15-inch tails. 15-inch tails. Now, if you are a seller on Etsy, it's nice to say, hey, oh, you like this wreath? Well, just so happens we have matching bows right over here that match it. You can put on your lantern, you can put on your all the mailbox, all the options, right? 15-inch and 6.5-inch. So we're going to make it just a little bit bigger. Okay? So it's nice when you can do that. You can link back, right? You can link back. Say, hey, you like this? I have matching this over here, right? That's what we're going to call an easy upsell. Not easy, but a soft upsell. You're not trying to sell them a whole new thing. You're trying to sell them something that matches what they just bought. And so those links would go in our description, or if somebody bought the bow, you could say in that description, you could say, hey, and you guys, look, I'm not a business coach, so I don't know if this is good, bad, if you're not supposed to be doing this. I have no idea. But I don't, sometimes I don't follow exactly. So make sure this is up-to-date information that you can use and that you actually can do that. It's not against the rules and conditions for Etsy. But again, this is just selling on Etsy and going back to another video. I'm sorry, not video. Another tutorial item. Sorry, another item on Etsy to sell. So you're not trying to take them off of Etsy. You're keeping them right there. I forgot this is 6.5, so I'm gonna go a little bit. Ooh, that's way too short. Okay. You're not trying to take them off of Etsy. You're trying to just sell them something else on Etsy. So nice. And you're not, it's not bad. You're saying to your customer, hey, if you like this and you purchased it, I also have something that you might like that matches your mailbox, your lantern, your garage lights, your ABC, whatever. Okay, now, instead of taking our two loops and doing opposite, they're all going to be the same. You'll see what happens in the end. I am going to kind of go quick because my right hand is angry. Okay, so it's all going to come down, and then you'll see, because there are loops down here, you need to know where those go and how to kind of fluff those out. If you watch the Facebook Live, it's going to be the same. We're going to do the same thing. Okay, down, making sure my loops are a little bit smaller. Just a little bit, not too much. So when I list the bow, I need these to be almost identical so I can say I have two. Right? I want to list them, make sure I create them almost identical so I can say I have two. That way, again, on Etsy, it's a little nicer. Etsy likes you a little bit when you have more than one available. When one sells, it'll help you a little bit. Like, hey, oh, that sold. Oh, okay, we have one more of those. Oh, let's help her. That's my voice that I pretend that Etsy says. Just, it might not say that, but. Okay. And then here comes those lemons again. I have a love-hate relationship with this lemon ribbon at this point. It's real stiff, so it's nice. But because it's real stiff, it doesn't twist good and gather good. Not good. It does good, but just not easy. I like it when it's easy. Pinch. Twist. Loop. Pinch. Now, when I make the big bows, I did mention this in our live. When I make the big bows, I do usually like to do 3 2.5 inch, 3 1.5 inch, and quite honestly in that order. So we're breaking all the rules here. And in this bow, I only have 2 1.5 inch just because when I got these from Sam's, the third ribbon that was with this was white. Not that I didn't like the white, I do like the white, but the ribbon, the actual ribbon, I wasn't a fan of. So I just eliminated that white base for this particular wreath for the bow. You know, it looks completely fine without it. You can see plenty of ribbons for the bows, plenty of coverage there. And then the last one is going to be, again, just the same, making sure that that center loop has a nice smaller, has a smaller loop than the others, and then still coming in with 3. So I don't like to sell our big bows with the small pipe cleaner. Okay, I will add a zip tie, because selling them singly, like not on a wreath, I want to make sure it's good to go when it leaves here, and I don't want to be worried about somebody trying to fluff it a little bit and it coming apart, right? So I don't want to do that. Now again, 2 loops are going to go on the top, and you see here, because I technically have 2 loops on each side because of that smaller loop, we have 1 tail going to the top, but I'll pull it down to the bottom. Let me just grab a zip tie. I'll pull it down to the bottom. Just want to make sure that the 2 loops are in place. Making sure that stack stays nice and tight. And I like to put that zip tie, because remember that it's gonna not feel great when you touch it after you cut it off. I try to put that on the side, so not down here. So it's going to be kind of in the bow, right? Not where the customer might touch it. Let's go ahead and cut these while we are at it so that we don't forget any. And I just, I don't specifically necessarily cut these to all the exact same length. I try to keep them the same length, but then when I'm cutting through like this, I'm not really paying too much attention. Just because I like the variation, to be quite honest. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. I got them all. That one, so if one's a lot longer, you see how that one's long. We'll see how the other one turns out, but I just need a long white pipe cleaner, and I don't think I have one, so let me grab a piece of wire. So I want my customer to obviously have a longer spot than the pipe cleaner, so I'm just going to grab a wire. Number 1. Number 2, in case, now I've never had a pipe cleaner break like off the bow, but in case the zip tie breaks, I do have an extra layer of help to keep it all together. Now, because my hands aren't super duper strong, it's not super duper tight. I don't know why they keep doing that. It's not super duper tight, but it'll hold for me. It'll hold. Now, here I go. First things first, I'm going to bring this to the top, and I'm going to hold on to it right there. So I have my wires in the back, and I have my most of my tails coming down to the top, or coming down to the bottom. So I'm going to just pull this around. I'll pull this down to the bottom. Number 1. I'm going to fluff out my top. Now remember, I still have those 1 loops down to the bottom, right? I still have those 1 loops down to the bottom. There's a loop down that's snuck underneath here. So I'm going to bring 1 first to the right. I'm going to bring the second one to the left. I'm going to bring the third one to the wherever I can find it. Where is it? So I'm just going opposite. Just pulling it out here. Now, I make these long bows 2 different ways. This is just one way I make them. Okay, the other way is to put the layers or the tails going opposite ways and then bring all of the tails coming down one way. That's another way. Anyways, not to confuse you. But if you've seen me make it the other way, you're probably like, what's going on? She is making like this. I'm just going to try to pull those out. Spread them out, because remember here, I don't want them to get lost over here. And I'm holding the center, not that I need to, but I'm holding the center, kind of pulling our ribbons to where we want them to go. There we go. Just like that. Make sure they're all fluffed. Perfection. Super duper pretty. And then of course making sure that all of my tails spread out down here so you can see them mostly. There we go. Super duper cute, super pretty, nice and fluffy. You can go through and just tap those, give them a little love on your ends here. Very good. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Nice bow. I've made, I don't know, several of them. I sell at a local boutique and I always seem to sell there well nicely. I don't even know if I've ever listed them on Etsy. I don't know if I have or not. But I totally love this design. Super duper easy, super fun. You know, no sign, no nothing. Great practice for your bows, of course. I hope that you enjoyed. Don't forget to be following and subscribed. Again, learnfrommelissa.com will get you to all of our links. I'd love to see you. You can text me at any time, call us. Make sure you're following on all your favorite social media platforms. I hope this inspired you, and I can't wait to see your bow wreaths. And I'll see you again soon. Bye, y'all.